And you need the 2 bricks towards the front end of the mat. We're going to be using them for a balance, so then they'll be high up today when we do use them. So just out to the side within reach, and we'll start seated like we do quite often. And just let ourselves rock out a little bit. Lengthen the body. Wriggle through the shoulders. And then begin to settle the breath. So we'll take some gentle twists, just inhaling the arms up above the head and rotating over to the left, bringing the hands down as you exhale, inhaling up, hands to the sky, rotate round and over to the other side. So just nice and simple. Just feel the shoulders open up, the spine, try and relax the hips open. A tendency for the knees to lift away from the ground. And last time, coming to the right. Facing the front, we bring the hands back down. We're taking into a little side bend out to the left, so palm down to the floor. Make sure the right knee stays connected down as low as you can. We'll take it up to 12 o'clock to start with. Just stretch it up towards the sky. Bring it back down. Walking out to the other side. Remember, the opposite leg presses down a little bit as we reach up. And come back into that left-hand side again. This time we'll take the arm over to the side, bend the elbow as well. Get a little deeper. Press away, come back up. Take it out to the right. And coming back up. And we'll shake out the legs a little bit. And then we're going to come down onto the floor. We're going to keep the block close by. Going to be using that in a second. So just using the hands behind knees high to roll ourselves in. And then bringing the knees in. We just make some nice knee circles in the air. So we get a little hip opening, a little movement in the lower back. And then we'll take the circles in the opposite direction. let the feet come back down to the floor. I'm going to slide the leg out at a time. Down the centre line on the mat, take the block in between the hands. Direct the hands up towards the sky above the chest, palms facing in. Draw the belly in and the lower back to the floor. Allow yourself to lengthen the toes away as you start to drop the back block behind you to the floor. And bring it up. Exhale, flex the toes towards you. Inhale, point the toes away. Draw the belly in. Let the arms sink to the back of the mat. Drawing it back up, flexing the feet. Get a little bit of internal rotation into the thighs as you flex the feet back. And then we're going to bring that block behind the back of the head. Take the arms out wide, draw the knees back in, so heels come right in towards your bottom. We'll take a little side bend to the right, keeping the shoulders on the floor. Head turning is optional. Just getting a little deeper rotation into the spine, maybe some little clicks and clanks as the spine moves around. And we'll lift back to the center. As we inhale, just take it gently across to the last side. Inhaling back up. We're going to take the feet hip distance apart, just move the block out. We'll bring that between the thighs so that we get a little bit of a squeeze on. Coming into bridge pose, so you got those heels right underneath your knees. Shoulders back a little bit underneath, make them a little fraction narrower. Lengthen your hands out, palms facing down, and draw your lower back into the floor. Then let the pelvis tilt and start to drive the legs towards the sky. Keep your breath at the top. Exhale, roll the spine down. Inhale at the bottom. Roll the spine in as you exhale and gently lift back up. Lengthen those legs away a little bit as you breathe in. And exhale down. And take 3 more of these. Breath at the bottom. Roll the spine in gently and curl the hips up towards the sky. And we'll take 1 more. We'll take the block out, place that behind the back of the head again. Draw the right knee in towards the chest, take the hands around the back of the thigh. Interlace the hands, flex the foot, press the sole of the foot towards the sky so it lengthens out. Slide the left heel down the center line of the mat. So flex both feet. So easing the legs into as straight as position as you can. Those hamstrings are going to be tight. So we want to press out progressively. So we get a little bit of movement between the hamstrings and the lower back muscles together, rather than just trying to wrench into one set of muscles and hoping. Using the unscientific method of grit your teeth and hope doesn't usually work. And then bringing those legs back in. And we'll swap over to the other side. So you just draw the belly down just a little bit. It's not aggressive, but there is a little bit of control to stop the ribs flaring towards the ceiling. Slide the leg out when you're ready. Flex both feet. Just gently let it open itself out. And then we release again. Bring the blocks back in between the thighs. Take the arms out wide. Keep the knees a little more in towards the body so the feet are off the ground. Allow yourself to flex the feet. And then we're going to take the side twist again, but we're just not quite letting the knees and the feet come to the floor. So it's very controlled. We want to know that we're using our core muscles to control the speed that we drop and lift, rather than just letting the legs sort of slap out to the side. And again, gritting your teeth and holding your breath and hoping. We're doing the opposite to that. We're thinking and feeling. It's really slow, gentle, deliberate rolls from side to side. Doesn't have to be big. You just take the feet and the knees to a comfortable position where you keep the shoulders on the ground. And we'll finish going over for the last time. Bring ourselves back. Take the blocks out. Roll onto our right side. Use the hands to lift to come back up. We'll spin around so that we can come onto the front of the mat. Take the knees out wide, toes together. Sit back onto the heels. Just stretch the hands out. Nice and wide, not too far forwards, but enough so that the elbows are off the ground. Wider is a little bit easier on the shoulders, so we want to get a nice relaxed stretch. So that's why we're using the width of the mat plus. Allow yourself to draw the abdominal muscles in so the breath is more into the chest. We don't need that because we've got plenty of space, but we're just trying to turn those muscles on. Get them used to the idea of drawing in and holding us. We'll slowly lift back up onto all fours. We'll bring ourselves back into an all fours position. Roll the shoulders back, tuck the toes underneath. We're going to take a down dog. So your choice, you can walk the legs out if that feels good, or you can hold it steady. You can take a deep bend in the knees. If you want to flow a little more, you can take a scissor. Depends what you've been doing so far this morning, a little bit. we'll start to walk the feet in to the front of the mat. So letting the legs bend a little bit as we draw them forwards. Trying to keep the feet hip distance apart. Just walking the legs out still until it gets to an impossible stage. And we just walk the feet the rest of the way in. Now bring the hands onto the hips, soften the knees, and let ourselves lift up. We'll take the hands high as we breathe in, and then into the heart. Exhale over the hips, soften the knees as we come down. We'll step the right foot to the back of the mat, big step. And we're on the fingertips. So let the hips drop a little bit. So we're trying to get the best right angle we can in the front thigh. And the shin being vertical, so the knee is over the ankle and not hanging out to the side too much. And then we'll take it back into down dog. Float into plank. Now we're going to come all the way down to the floor, so it's going to bend the elbows, land slowly, hopefully, untuck the toes, make sure the hands are underneath the shoulders and the low cobra. So lengthen out through the spine, exhaling down. Remembering to work with the legs and the back rather than your neck and your head. Take the hands back down to the bottom of the ribs. Press away from the floor so we can come back onto all fours. Sit onto the heels a little bit and lift ourselves up into our down dog. We'll draw the right knee in towards the chest and bring the foot through into the lunge. Spend a little time here again on the fingertips. And press off the toes. Hands on the hips. A little lift and then that tiny step forwards just to bring ourselves back up. Inhale high. Hands through the heart. Draw the belly in, thighs lift, toes have got weight. This time it's the left foot back. Bring the hands to the floor, step back into our down dog. Breathe in, float into plank. Exhale, the elbows back all the way down to the floor. And tuck the toes. Just adjust the hands a little as you need. Inhale, low cobras. And we'll come up for a last one. Bring the hands to the bottom of the ribs. Shoulders draw back, we lift up. Sit onto the heels. Come forwards onto all fours. Work our way into down dog. And we'll draw that left knee in into our lunge. And then press off the toes to the forward fold. Hands onto the hips to lift up. And then we'll step up to the front of the mat. So inhale high. This time we'll add warrior two and down dog, up dog combination. Exhale through, down to the floor. Right foot back. Drop the heel in. You can bring the hands onto the front thigh if you wish, or alongside the body to lift, which is a little stronger. Rotate the hands directly above the shoulders. Rotate the body slowly. Then lengthen down to the floor. Step it back into our down dog. Come forwards into plank. Push through the toes. Elbows into the ribs. Don't come too low. Knees can come to the floor if you need. Roll into that up dog. Nice broad shoulders. And back into down dog. And draw the right knee into the chest. Exhale that through. Step into our forward fold. Hands on the hips. Soften the knees to lift up. So we'll do that again, leading with the left leg. Left leg back, drop the heel in. In your choice on how you lift. Just a couple of breaths here so we can really start to root and connect to the floor. Build from the foundation. Inhale high, rotate. Come down to the floor with control. Step back into the down dog. Float into plank as you breathe in. Half plank as you exhale. Inhale for up dog. Exhale, down dog. And draw the left knee in, bring the foot through. Press off the toes. Forward fold. Hands onto the hips. Lift up gently. Add a little more onto that. Hands into the heart. Exhale down to the floor. I'm going to take the right foot back this time and drop the knee gently to the floor. You'll take a twist, so right hand comes down onto the ground. We'll float the left hand up towards the sky. And as you start to take the hand towards the back of the mat, see if you can bend your right knee and bring your foot in. Find some toes at the corner of your eyes with a bit of luck. Then draw the chest open and bring the front back knee back into center if it's hanging out to the side a little bit. Now we release that foot down to the floor. Bring both hands down, lift the back knee, drop the back heel in. Bring a hand alongside the body or onto the side to open up into your warrior two. And the hands lift. We'll rotate. Step it back into our down dog. Float into plank as we breathe in. Use the exhale for half. Inhale for up dog. Exhale for down dog. We'll draw that right knee in. Bring the foot through into the lunge. Press to the forward fold. Hands onto the hips, soft knees and the left. One more side. Left foot back. Let the knee down gently. Right arm comes forwards, we lift and twist. Take the eyes back with us as well as we lift the knee, well, lift the foot, keep the knee on the floor, that makes it a whole lot easier. And then open the chest up, draw the heel in, draw that front knee into the center. Does go for a little wander. And release carefully. Bring the hand back down to the floor. Drop the heel in for warrior two. Float the arms high. Breath in. Exhale down to the floor. Step it back into down dog. Come into your plank. Exhale, half plank. Inhale, up dog. Try and keep the legs strong. Roll over the toes to the down dog as you exhale. And we'll draw the left knee in. Through to the lunge. Nice easy breath. Exhale into the forward fold. Draw that belly in. Ribs on thighs, hands on hips. And we lift up slow. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. Exhaling back down to the floor. Taking the right foot to the back of the mat. Drop the heel in this time. For warrior two, bring the hands alongside or hands on the thigh. You can use whichever you prefer. I'm going to take reverse warrior, so I'm going to turn the palm on the front hand up towards the sky first of all. Then let the back hand slide down the outside of the thigh. Use the top arm over towards the back of the mat. Be conscious that the front leg doesn't drop into the center line. Come back into warrior two. Arms high. And then we'll bring them down onto the inside of that front leg. We'll take a little breath from here and wander the hands around to the long side of the mat. Turn the toes in. I'm going to take some little twists, so we're going to bring the right hand on the floor underneath the chest. Get the spine nice and long. Even weight through the legs. And then when you're ready, we'll turn the body to the left and extend the left hand up towards the sky. Bring the hand back down as we breathe in. Exhale over to the right. And a nice long breath on the way down. Exhale to lift up. Squeeze the body out a little bit. That's what it feels like emptying the sponge. It didn't take me very long to lose count. I was enjoying myself so much. I think that's number 5 on each side. It might be 4, might be 6. It's around that number. We'll walk ourselves gently back to the front of the mat into the lunge. Now we're going to take a down dog, but we're going to take a scissor dog. So that's the left leg, the one that's the front, is going to lift back and up. And we'll open out the hip to the side a little bit, come onto the tiptoes, point up to the sky. And then we'll draw the knee back in towards the chest. Little squeeze. And then bring it through. So it just gives a little time for the spine, the pelvis, etc., to kind of realign itself. We'll step out forwards into the front of the mat. We'll take the same to the second side. So lifting up gently. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. Exhale down. Taking the left leg back, drop the heel in. Hands alongside or on the thigh again as you lift up. When you're ready, turn the palm for reverse warrior. Remember, first stage, just take the hand up to 12 o'clock. Get the hand into the back leg, get the leg strong. And then slide your hand down. Let the hand glide over towards the back of the mat. Keep the belly drawn in a little bit. More chesty breathing. Remember the front knee, center line of the mat. Come back, warrior two. Float the hands up and then onto the inside of this front leg. Take a breath and walk the hands around to the long side. We're going to do exactly the same again. We're going to take the twist. So we're going to plant the right hand. Inhale the left arm up. Exhale it down. So just changing the breath a little bit. One more to each side. Walk the fingers around into the lunge. Remember, it's a scissor dog. Right leg lifts, tippy toe. Open the hips out to the side a little bit. Keep both arms strong. Shoulders are square to the floor. It's just the hips that twist. And slowly draw the knee back in towards the chest. Give it that little squeeze for a breath. And then we come forwards. Last lunge. And we'll step forwards. Let ourselves sink a little bit. Now we're going to move those two bricks that we spoke about, and I'm going to bring them to the front of the mat, high end, about shoulder distance apart. So whilst you're in your forward fold, it's easy to kind of look and see where you are, where you need to be. And then we'll bring our hands onto the hips and let ourselves lift up slow and shake it all out. Now I'm going to bring the feet to about what I call sitting bone distance apart. So narrower than the hips, but you still got an inch or two between the soles of the feet, and you want to make sure your feet are parallel. For most of us, that means the heels feel like they're turning out a little bit and the toes are pointing in. The reason we want that is because we want our knee to travel in the same direction to the front of the mat, not sort of go off different directions. For standing balance work, I'm going to bring the hands in towards the heart. It's a figure four, but just a standing version. So it's like a chair, but it's one leg. You've got a figure four on the opposite leg. And then keeping the body long, we're going to see if we can bring the hands down onto the bricks and press the shin into the sort of the back of the arms a little bit. So we'll take a breath in, bring hands in towards the heart. We'll shift into the right leg to start with and slowly lift the left foot, flex. Now you take the knee out to the side, hook the ankle to the outside of the thigh. Keep the foot flexed, let the knee move down towards the floor. You're going to start to sit down a little deeper, a little deeper, a little deeper. And when you think you're ready, you're going to bring the hands onto the bricks and then just hook yourself into the back of the arms. So you can bend the arms a little bit, You can sink forwards a little bit. Remember that you've moved just that fraction. Now you can keep coming down lower if you wish to, or you can just lengthen the body out of the pelvis and work from there. So the bricks are there just to kind of give us a little sense of security. And then rather than chancing our luck, I'm going to take a little breath and open out the standing leg and allow the bent leg to just come back down to the floor, to that same position. So it's really safe. Soften the knees, bring the hands onto the hips and lift up. The lift is quite exciting if you don't take the foot to the floor and you come back into the standing figure four. And since we don't practice this a lot and we're on Zoom, I'd rather do it the safe way and keep everyone in one piece. So bring the hands in towards the heart, soften the knees. Take a little breath. Slowly lift that right foot, flex. When you're ready, you take the ankle out and you soften the knee down towards the floor. So you get the figure four option in already. And then you allow yourself to start to lower and sink down. Try and keep the body long. So it's a genuine bend in the knee rather than a sort of a jump down and hopefully get some bricks. When you think the bricks are close enough, you bring yourself in and then you just lean into it a little bit so you can press the shin into the back of those arms, elbows. You can bend the elbows, as I said. Now we've all got different degrees of flexibility in our ankles and our hips. Some of us will wobble out to the side a little bit more on one side than the other. So this is just really to help us understand how that looks in our body and how it feels. And with an eye on safety, allow ourselves to explore this pose. Keeping the belly drawn in and the spine long and flat, hopefully. One last breath. Start to straighten the standing leg. Ease the other foot to the floor with control. Then soften the knees. Take a little breath. We'll move the bricks onto the next level down. Hands onto the hips. And let ourselves lift up and shake out the legs. Now I'm going to move my bricks back a little bit further. Just because I've realized that I'm in danger of crashing the head into the wall again. So, feet are hip distance apart this time. Bring the hands in towards the heart, take a little breath. We'll sit back into our chair pose. I'm going to take the weight into the right foot. We are going to come into warrior three, but we're going to use the hands on the block once we get there. So just draw the knee in towards the body a little bit, flex the foot, start to press it back, lengthen the body out, slowly bring the hands onto the bricks. You might need to move them around a little bit, so palms flat to the floor, and then we're slowly going to straighten out the front leg a bit more. Slowly straighten out the back leg, trying to keep the hips nice and square. If you want to come up onto the fingertips, if you feel happy to do that, you can do, and get even more height. But otherwise, palms flat on the blocks. Now soften the front knee. Draw the back foot down to the floor, just on the toes, so you get to something to arrive. And then we'll step it in to the forward fold. Hands are still on the blocks. Feet are hip distance apart. Another more breath here. We'll bring the hands onto the hips, soften the knees, lengthen the chest, and let ourselves lift. Bring the hands into the heart. Soften the knees into our chair. Take the weight into the left foot. Draw the knee in, flex the foot, hinge forward slowly, keep the spine long, press out the back leg slowly as you lengthen forwards. When you feel ready, bring the hands down onto the bricks and adjust them to wherever you need them to be. When you feel steady, you can straighten the front leg carefully without pressing into the back of the knee. And again, you can lift up onto the fingertips if that feels good. I'm trying to keep the hips nice and square. So the lifted leg wants to follow the line of the body rather than moving out to the sides. So that's why we practice that internal rotation a little bit, because if the foot turns out, the leg tends to follow. I'm trying to keep the back of the pelvis square to the ground, so the front hip bones feel the same distance from the floor. I'm going to take one more breath, soften the front knee, take the toes to the mat, foot back for a gentle landing. When you're ready, step it into that forward fold. Sink yourself down for a few breaths. Hands are still on the blocks in the front of us, so it's a kind of a slightly different version of forward fold, but it's good enough to stabilize the hips and work on those hamstrings. I'll bring the hands onto the hips again. Take a little breath. Turn the page over. Can't remember what comes next. Exhale up. At least I'm honest. Inhale high with the hands. Take a little back bend. And then hands into the heart. Come down to the floor again. And we're just going to move into the blocks to the side. And we'll come down onto all fours. So just stepping back through down doggish into cat-cow. So draw the chest forwards, draw the belly in, roll the spine up. Take a few of these backwards and forwards, and then we'll take a few barrel rolls as well. Remember not to lead with the head. Eyes follow where the heart points. Press into the shins a little bit. Get to feel those abdominals working a little more. We'll come up for the last time. Come into neutral, and then we'll just barrel roll out to the left and up and over to the right, down to the floor a few times. Let the elbows and shoulders move as much as you wish. And then we'll take it in the opposite direction. And then we're going to come into child's pose. I'm going to keep the knees in the same position, so hip distance apart. Take the hands out in front. And it's going to lift, going to be on the elbows. Lift the hands away from the floor. Just roll those wrists around a few times. And come back. So, fun stuff. I'm going to come into a elbow side plank. I know you like them. So we'll start off on our bellies. And the elbows underneath the shoulders. Draw the shoulders back a little bit. And you want to have the elbows shoulder distance apart. Now I'm going to roll onto my left side, and as I do, I'll bring my left forearm across in front of me. So I've got some nice right ankles here. At the moment, I'm kind of sunken into the shoulder, so I'm going to press down into the floor, get a little bit of a lift. I'm going to bend the knees, so the knees are forwards and the heels and the ankles are in line with the space of the body. going to take a little breath, keep the front hand on the floor and lift my hips away from the ground. Now my knees are still on the floor. I bring the hand onto the top hip and then I'm just going to clamshell that top leg open and bring it back down. So it's a side plank on the elbow, nice lift. I got the bottom knee on the floor, they bend, and I'm just opening and putting a little squeeze into the butt. And it's hard to get that bottom on this cheek to kind of fire up. Bottom one's doing plenty of work. Top one, really have to connect your mind to it. And then we'll come down. Now I'm going to change ends just so I can keep looking at the clock and the camera. If you're able to just flip over to the other side, that's fine. So again, I'm just going to build myself into this. I'm going to come into what looks suspiciously like Sphinx pose. As I roll onto my side, bend the forearm underneath. Shoulder presses away. Knees bend. Remember, I'm looking for alignment. Down the spine, front hand is still on the floor. As I exhale, I lift the hips off the ground. Knees are still together and on the ground. Hand onto the hip, and then inhale it open. Then squeeze into the butt. Exhale it down. Try and keep the head looking to the side of the mat. If you start looking down towards your knees, you're starting to bend your body in a little bit, and it gets a little bit more tricky to balance. And then we'll bring ourselves down. I'm going to roll onto my back completely and allow myself to just bring the heels in towards my bottom. I'm going to take the hands towards the sky. Draw the knees in towards the chest, a leg at a time. Draw the belly down to the floor. Lengthen the toes up towards the sky to straight legs. Alternate legs and arms. So I'm going to take the right arm and left leg. They're not quite touching the floor. And then I bring them back up. I want to keep the lower back connected to the ground. So I'm really working on drawing these muscles in underneath the ribs, all the way down to the pelvis. Try and keep the legs straight and pointing out. Now you can either point the toes, or you can kind of spread the toes. Both work. So last time, draw the knees in towards the chest. And roll onto the right side again. Find the block. And bring that underneath my bottom. Little lift. Legs are out in front. I'm going to take the right heel to the outside right hip area, so I can get the heel really close in. There's no gap between the calf and the back of the thigh. And I also want my foot pointing forwards, and the knee, if it's rocking out to the side, you're going to need to move your foot even further. I want a nice vertical shin. Now take the left hand behind, so I open out to that side, and then I'm going to brace the right arm and leg together. Now, as I do that, The front leg turns very slightly in, so the toes point up towards the sky, and I spread the toes out as I flex the foot. Look over the back shoulder and then tilt the pelvis forwards a little bit to get some more space in the spine. And a release. We'll take it out to the second side. Take a little time to get that leg in the happy place. And then turn out to the right. Remember to tilt the pelvis forwards a little bit. Check the front leg, just a little bit of a turn into the center line. So just working gently into the adductors. And then we'll release. Take the legs out and allow them to go wide. Now bring the left heel in towards the body. Turn my body so my chest faces the bent knee. I'm going to take the right hand out along the right shin. And I'm going to take my left hand, I'm going to wrap it around, and I can't quite hold on to my side. If you can, great, but I'm going to use the waistband of my trousers. And then I'm going to lengthen the body up and out, just slide along. I'm going to keep hold of the ankle and see if I can take the elbow out to the outside edge of the knee, just a little bit. And then see if I can get to the point where I can get the elbow as close to the floor as I can, keeping the chest open. Side on. Keep the belly drawn in. And then I'll release and come back up. And we'll take that to the second side. So lengthen the legs out. As the leg comes in, turn the chest and the body to face the bent knee. Hand out. Wrap the other hand around. Seem to tighten my trousers up quite a lot today, so I need two hands to get my fingers in through the belt. Lift up and then slide it out. Find the ankle and then allow the little bend in the elbow as you sink yourself down. You can try and turn the chest as open as you can to the side. And we'll release and come back out of that. Allow ourselves to lengthen the legs out, give them a little shake. And then we'll come down for Shavasana. Just moving the block out. Remember to keep the knees high or roll onto the side, depends on how your spine feels. It feels like your muscles have done a lot of work. Take the easier route side on. And then when you come down, again, if your back is feeling tender, take the knees together and the feet wide. So knees are high. Get a little TP going on. Make some space underneath the lower back. Give it some space to breathe. Now, if the spine feels fine, the muscles don't feel too tired, you can slide heels out gently to the corner edges of the mat, and let the hands come out to the side. And we're going to let ourselves relax. So I'm going to pulse my feet up and down. like a pair of flip-flops, just flip-flopping up and down. We'll do this for about a minute. So it just creates a gentle vibration loosening up through the entire body. Doesn't have to be super fast or super strong. It's just enough to get that little bit of a bounce. And I'm going to slowly soften the house to nothing. And beginning to stretch those fingers and toes. Let the wrists and the ankles join in. Breathe a little deeper. Stretch a bit longer. And then ease the heels in towards the bottom so that we can take the phone a little hug. And we'll slowly and gently rock over to the right as we exhale. Take ourselves into a little ball. And then on the exhale, open up. Press away from the floor back up to sitting. And bring ourselves back into a nice upright position. Bring the hands in towards your heart as you take the breath in. And as you exhale, let ourselves bow forwards, dropping the head gently, chin to chest. Feel our practice. Inhale, the head can lift, head lifts, eyes open. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for a twist on core integration. Have a lovely rest of the day. See you next week.